We play for keeps, Cuddy. You ain't heard about the huddle fire with no with D-Lane. We tryna get it off the muscle. Walters caught the pick and ran it back without a tussle. Blow the whistle, coach is trying to get back to the huddle.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to the 510 Huddle Podcast. It's your boy, Coach D Lane, in the building with my guy, my brother, Keaton McCoy. How you doing today, brother?
Pretty good overall, but honestly, a little bummed because this season is coming to an end soon.
Great football season, man. And I believe I still got to check my AFC. I know you called this, but we pretty much called both. I called the NFC, you called the NFC pitcher and the AFC pitcher. I know I had the Chiefs, Eagles in the Super Bowl, so I need to check I'm pretty sure I had the Bengals though. It may have been the Bills. But we have this weekend's games that for the most part we all wanted and that we all definitely deserved as NFL consumers, especially out of that NFC, man. We got the two best rosters, I believe, in the NFC, and then I believe we got the two best quarterbacks, man, out of the AFC. Brother, let's start here before we even dive into the games, man, because I think I heard, I want to say it was Dan Orlowski today. He said a mouthful. He said a mouthful today, man, when he made a statement. And initially, it may sound crazy to a lot, especially a lot of people in Kansas City. But I think I understood what he was saying behind it, and I think it actually makes a lot of sense. And I wanted to see what your thoughts was on it, which was he said Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in NFL. He said Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback talent in the NFL. What's your thoughts?
I vehemently disagree because Patrick Mahomes can do everything that Joe Burrow can do and also better, and also Joe cannot do everything that he can. Everything from every statistical standpoint, Patrick is better, and even in the smaller analytic things when it comes to pocket passing, passing under pressure, Patrick is better. Patrick has done more. And I also want to say this: I get the whole new thing, and this is how I know Patrick is better because every single week we try to find somebody to say, is he better than Patrick? Um, Beginning of the season, it was Josh Allen, and everybody up until last Sunday was saying it was Josh Allen, and now it's Joe Burrow. But during parts of the season, is Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes' class, and all these other things. Is Justin Herbert preseason? All I heard was, is Justin Herbert better now? At the end of the day, the constant name is 15 in Kansas City. Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in football, and he definitely deserves his respect. I will say this: if he can go in Arrowhead again, despite Mahomes being hobbled, win, and then go on to win the Super Bowl, he's the only player and quarterback that I would entertain that type of discussion. I would disagree, but I would entertain it. Um, but I would entertain it. I would just disagree.
Yeah,
But no,
he definitely has to win the big one to cement himself in there. But and I don't disagree. I will agree with you to be honest, but I don't really disagree with Dan neither. As far as I think I don't know if I clarified, but like I guess he was talking about, and I think we need to check the stats, brother. I know you just mentioned it and brought it up as far as being better from the pocket. I think that's what Dan was talking about, just operating on time, staying in the pocket, pure pocket quarterback. We know Pat loves and tends to get off script. Sometimes even Andy's play calling calls for it. But he's not always routine to do the 1, 2, 3. We seen him do it the second half this past game because it was called on him for him to do it because some of his mobility was taken away with his ankle injury. But as far as just consistent pocket play, I don't know. I may give a slight edge to Burrow there, but at the end of the day, I agree as far as Pat's still top dog because of what you said to open up as far as Pat can do everything Joe can do. Joe can't do everything Pat can do. And it's really that simple.
yeah, and also I'll say this: I do agree from this standpoint of just being in the pocket. I don't think Patrick's better than Joe. If I have to pick one, I think Joe is slightly better. But especially with this year, with what Pat did, Patrick was a lot more patient and on script, a lot more.
For sure.
He
Compared to the
and he is
previous
not
year.
get that respect. People still just have this image of all his highlight plays, but 90% of the time he was on script and he was on time and accurate with the ball. I do think Joe might be slightly better in that regard, but it's like, let's say out of a rating system, Joe's 99.9, Pat's 99.8 or 99.7. So it's tomato tomato.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, no, I'm sorry. Physical gifts along with all those things matter, and Pat has both. Joe's physical gifts, similar to Tom Brady, are much better than what he'll ever get credit for, but it's not what 15s is. And that's all I gotta say.
Got you, man. Let's dive into these divisional matchups, man, just so we can get underway here because we also want to touch on the conference championship games a little bit, but we'll give you our picks for that Friday on IG Live at Coach D Lane and at the 510 Huddle. We'll go live Friday afternoon with Zay and give you our picks, okay, for this weekend. But let's first start here with the Jags and the Chiefs, man. Bummer for us betters, right? Because we all had Pat having an explosive game, well on his way before his ankle got rolled up on excuse me, on a generic routine tackle play. But they come out with the win, 27-20 at Arrowhead. The Chiefs beat the Jaguars, brother. What did you see in the game?
I'm sad about that part. I'm also sad about my score prediction because I had 35-20, and I think they would have done that, sadly. But anyways, um, I was very impressed with this Chiefs team, and that's something that I've liked about them, and that's what I kind of tried to say preseason about them. I do think this would be his most complete team that he has been a part of. They were just young and they're growing up, and now when they saw that their leader was wounded, they had other guys step up. Offensively, defensively, his offensive line protected outstandingly. They ran it well. Their defensive players, they got home, especially Frank Clark. So that was awesome to see. Defensive backs are still young, but they can all run. And also to shift it over to the Jags, Trevor Lawrence did a lot of fantastic things. Um, he just needs a little bit more help. Um, if Calvin Ridley is on that deep post that Christian Kirk had that was dropped, that the 60-yard laser that he threw, that's probably not only catch but probably a touchdown. I think with Mahomes getting hobbled, I think the Jags kind of had a sigh of relief and didn't dig in deeper. They thought that the backups in like were off the hook. No, because Andy Reid is still coaching. You still have Travis Kelsey. You still have that off the line. But that's basically it. I think the Jags, they just showed their immaturity, and I think the Chiefs just showed their championship DNA.
Man, and you brought something up key there, brother. I guess we're jumping the gun a little bit here because it's going to the conference championship matchup. But I also wanted to ask you because I was actually shocked with the Jags' approach when Pat did initially go down and when he first came back, as far as they stopped blitzing him. They blitzed him early on, then they stopped because he was picking them apart. But clearly he was hobbled. I want to see, can you move? You know, he was struggling when he first came back in. Second half definitely looked a little better mobility wise, but it wasn't there. But he could move a little bit better in the second half with a better tape job. But if I'm the Jags, man, I'm sending pressure. So I was saying that to say, what do you think would be the Bengals approach? Do you think they're coming at him to see coming at him early to see can he move? I would. If I'm a DC, I would, brother, because I gotta know, can he move early or not?
I think you have to do that. But the only thing that I will say is this: when you blitz him, it's not about him getting outside the pocket. With a lot of these young quarterbacks now, well, he's not as young anymore. He's 20, like he's still 20s. But anyways, with a lot of these guys coming from college, when you blitz them now, you make the game easy and you simplify it. It becomes a one-on-one read. So a lot of the times when he's blitz, it's not him creating. It's him staying in the pocket and just going crazy that way. I think you still have to try and see if you can move him off of his spot. But
Brother, just to interject.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah, and just to interject there, I think that's rule of thumb at all levels for quarterback play because I'm pretty sure they teach you damn near since high school, wherever the blitz comes, throw it where the blitz is coming from. I think as we evolve and move up the ranks, up the ladder, it's more so about how do you disguise that blitz, from the defensive perspective to try to
I
trick fool a guy.
No, I'm with you on that. I think you do have to see if you're the Bengals, but a lot of the Bengals' success has not been blitzing with him. It's been rushing three
Gotcha.
and keeping him in the pocket. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But he's a lot more patient this year than last year. Um, but yeah, I think that was an error on the Jacks for not at least trying it and seeing. But you kind of pick your poison. I understand not doing it, but I do think you have to at least try it. So I definitely agree with you there.
I'll say this, man. Like we said, we'll make our picks for the conference championship on Friday. Well, before I even say that, Jags, man, shout out my guy Dougie P, man. Definitely should
Mhm.
him and Dayball should definitely damn near should probably be a tie, man, for coach of the year with those two. When you really just look back to the dumpster fire that the Jags were just a year ago, man. And I looking back at it, and I don't want to, judge him without seeing him do it because he hasn't been a head coach yet. But he turned his job down last year, Brian Leftwich. But I honestly don't
Mhm.
believe he has them here because I'm a big believer in Dougie P. And again, like I said, I don't want to
Oh,
say
no,
that. I also don't want to call that because I don't want to judge him like that because he hasn't had the opportunity to be a head coach. But I'm just such a big Dougie P believer.
Oh, no, that's definitely fair. I mean, you have to go with the proven coach, especially getting Trevor Lawrence out of that funk he was in. I mean, that Urban Meyer had people thinking that Trevor Lawrence was the most overrated prospect ever, and
Yeah.
that he can't play. So, honestly, I think I could have done a better job with Trevor Lawrence because I wouldn't have just ruined him and the team's spirits. I think just that, like alone, would have been better. But, anyways, I definitely agree with you on that point. Dougie, with what he did, was outstanding this year. Nobody truly thought that this team could get to the playoffs. After the first game, I think I said, like, I kept like wavering, but like I was like, I think they can, but like I just can't do it yet just because they're so young. But he did it. So Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, they're definitely going to be a team to be reckoned with for years to come for sure.
And they may take over that division, man. I think, my guy, I love Dougie P, like I said, but I'm a big fan of Mike Variable and those guys down there in Tennessee, too. So they may have something to say, but this may be the Jags division to lose for the next few years to come. Before we move on, brother, we're going to do this for each team that has been bounced. The Jags, man, what do you think they need to add? Because this offseason, to me, I think it's quite simple. I think they need another corner. I love the Tyson Campbell guy. I love their safety play with Cisco and the crew. The linebackers is pretty solid. I think they need a corner, and then I think they need a back, man. I think they need a big guy like a sledgehammer. They're Pacheco. I like Travis Etienne. I really do. I don't think he's an every down back. Like I would love to see a Josh Jacobs here, man. It's gonna be a lot of back movement because there's a lot of nice running backs that's free agents this offseason. But I would love to see like a Josh Jacobs or something in this offense with the, and that's what kind of Dougie P did when he was with my Eagles, right? When we won the Super Bowl, we had the speed with Darren Sproles and Corey Clement. Then we had Howard, the big back, that to bring some power. So I think that's what they're missing as well.
I don't disagree. Those are all bad points. They definitely do need another corner. That is 100% true. They do need an extra running back for sure as well. Even though I do like Etienne and between the tackles, I think he's better than what he'll get credit for. But he's such a versatile player, and that also extend his career also. So you definitely want another back. One other thing, I know they're getting Calvin Ridley. They do need more speed on the outside.
Okay, and I was gonna ask you, did they need? I forgot that you beat me to it. I was gonna ask you with the addition of Calvin Ridley, did they need to get another receiver? I didn't know if
I still think that they do just for another speed threat deep. I mean, Calvin can get deep, but what he does best is the short and intermediate routes. Same thing with Kirk. So they need a more vertical threat, I think. And also, I do think that they need to still invest in the offensive line. It was better than last year, but it's still not great. I think they need to continue to put resources there for sure.
Got you. Always starts up in the trenches, man. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Bills and the Bengals, man. I've definitely seen this game. Rob, well, I actually said I had the Bills in the close one, or the Bengals was gonna blow their ass out. I had the Bills though, and the Bengals blew their ass out from the get go. You could just tell they were in control of the game. What was your thoughts on that one, brother?
The Bills are lucky that it was snowing, or else the Bengals would have put 40 on them. Look, I said this before the game. I just think the Bengals are the most complete team in that conference. Um, I think, and I kept saying this over the last couple of weeks, I think the Bills were overrated. I think that they were starting to feel the pressure that was unwarranted because I think when Zay asked this question about the Bills, I said there was this overcorrection about the Bills because of an overcorrection on people's views of Josh Allen from people couldn't get over their pre-draft evaluations of him to what he actually was, which is awesome and is a superstar now. Um, and they need another the Bills. I'll just sum it up. They
I
need
think they're
more
gonna.
guys. They just need more guys that can go make plays on both
Yeah,
sides of,
it's
and
three
that's it.
things. Yeah, it's three things I really think the Bills need, man. Like we say, it always starts in the trenches. You got to beef up that O line so they can be able to get a little more downhill on folks in the run game. I like Singletary. I'm more of a fan of Cook, maybe another back, but I'm really more of a fan of Cook than Singletary. But I think those two can get it done. It's more so like we always said, being committed to running. And like we said, probably getting some more beef on the O line. I think they definitely can use another corner, possibly, or no, not corner. Excuse me. They have young guys. They can use the get corner. They can use a corner because you feel like they ain't got guys that can run, brother. I still like Elam. I like the Dane Jackson guy. They're young.
Elam can run. The
Yeah.
other guys,
Yeah, I like the dance. So I'm saying back there, they're young, especially at corner. I think they're fine there. They definitely need a young pass rusher. I think they need a pass rusher, and then we both know they need a receiver. And when we say receiver, they need a threat, man. Because like you said, you've been saying it all year, but you damn near was one of the first people to say it about the Bills this season coming into the year. But when you go into playing the Bills, if I'm scouting the Bills, man, who else scares you? Who else is a threat to where you're besides Josh Allen, armor legs, and Diggs? Nobody else on that offense really scares you. You know, so
nobody.
yeah, they need another threat,
Like
playmaking threat.
Gabe Davis, he can get deep, but when it comes to any other route other than a deep post and a straight up go ball, he can't separate. He can literally run two routes, a deep post and a go route. The fact that they got Cole Beasley playing meaningful snaps, I think that says it all. So for everybody that's piling on Josh Allen now about they crowned him too early, no, Josh Allen is awesome. Was he ever better than Patrick Mahomes? I disagree. His talent is definitely up there. He's still one of the three best quarterbacks in football, but he needs more help. There's too much on his plate. And there's too much on Diggs' plate too, because that's again for betting purposes why I said I wanted to put Diggs, but in the postseason the last few years, teams have done a great job of taking him away. And again, when you go up against these better teams, no matter how good the defense is in the postseason the last 2-3 years, you kind of see he's kind of quiet. They just take him away and say, "You other guys beat us. You guys aren't going to kill us."
Yeah. Let's move on, man. Let's talk about so we already touched on what the Bills need. That's
Yeah.
pretty obvious. Playmaking threat and beef up that O line. Let's talk about my Eagles and the Giants, man. Love, love what I seen, man. Answered a bunch of questions that I'm pretty sure a bunch of people had about my team coming into the playoffs. And I really ain't got a lot on this game because I was really already looking past this game. I've been scouting on the Niners and Cowboys since last week, so I'm gonna let you say your spiel on that, and then we can actually touch on the next week's game.
Straight demolition job. I thought Russ would have played a factor for Jalen Hurts because one game in 6 weeks. I was iffy on Lane Johnson being able to finish the game. So I thought from that perspective and the way the Giants were kind of rolling a little bit, I thought they could keep it close or even like do like a backdoor cover. Clearly, I was dead wrong about that. They just beat their ass and called it a day, and they made them quit.
Yeah,
That was the bit like they made them quit. and I love that. I'm not one of these guys that like when you have somebody down. I'm one of those guys who's like, no, I want you to beat them down to where they quit, and I loved that. That was awesome.
I'm telling
That was the most impressive thing that I saw is that they made him quit. Forget all the X's and O's and all that stuff. They made him quit, and I love that.
come on, man.
That is awesome.
And big boy Jordan Davis is back, man. The run, besides that one that Saquon popped off, the run was pretty much held in check. Man, since we added Sue, Joseph, and when man, hey, we're gonna talk about next week. Hold on, let's finish this last divisional game real quick, brother. Let's talk about the Cowboys and the Niners.
Ooh.
I think I called you, bro. I think I called you. I was watching the game. And as a lifelong Cowboy hater, I felt bad for the Cowboys, man, when Tony Pollard
Mm-hmm.
went down. It was like life sucked out of the Cowboys on the sideline, the fans, me, anybody watching the game, just because you felt like for that first quarter and a half, beginning of that game, they really did feel in control of the game.
Yeah.
And Tony Pollard is really a difference maker, a playmaker, a game changer, a game breaker type player. And to lose him in a game where you really had action at, that gotta hurt. That gotta hurt.
Yeah, and this I love Ezekiel Elliott. As you know, I am a Buckeye fan, and I loved him when he was in high school. But yeah, he's I mean, like we all have known this for the last 2, 3 years, but he's just not the same guy. Like some of the runs that he has, like if Tony Pollard was in those positions, those are 20-yard games or more. So that was tough for them. So they had no run game. And I was even texting you. I was like, dude, put CD Lamb back there. Like he'll just figure something out. Like honestly, like I was literally at that point where I was like, just put CD Lamb back there. But so
Yeah.
that was rough for them. And then Dak, I'm not one of these people that puts everything on the quarterback, but that was rough. He missed 3 potential touchdown passes. Those 2 interceptions were awful. He almost threw a third that would have been a pick six. Um, yeah, the Cowboys, even though I still believe the 49ers are a slightly better team, the Cowboys had every opportunity to win that game, and they didn't do it. And yes, Tony Pollard's injury was huge. That is a factor. Also, Dak, man, Dak left, and I'll just be nice because you don't always want to assume touchdowns, even though they were, but he left at least 9 points out there,
Nah,
at
for
least.
sure, man. Because if he hits CD on that one up the sideline in stride, he's gone. That's 7.
Yeah,
That's 6
I
right
mean,
there.
realistically, he left probably 21 points on the board, but I'll be kind and say 9.
Man, let's use that to transition into the NFC championship, man. And I want to just say this to start off, and then you can go on, and I'll rebuttal. If the Niners play like they did against the Cowboys, brother, I think we would beat their ass. I'm gonna keep it one with you. Some of them early mistakes they made, I think we could beat their ass if they play like that. But I'm not expecting that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying if they play like they did, same way how I said if the Cowboys played like they did versus the Bucks and they came out like that before Tony Pollard got hurt, I said if they play like they did versus the Bucks with that type of physicality blended with their talent already, they could beat the Niners. I'm saying it the same thing with my Eagles. They come out playing like they just played against the Cowboys. I think we could put it on them.
I don't disagree. I mean, like, look, if you just looked at the 2 games, regardless of who they were playing, you would have to walk away saying the Eagles are just better right now. I still think the 49ers at their best might be slightly better, but it's kind of tomato at this point. I'll also say this. I do think that, especially when Pollard went out, Kyle kind of just did what he had to do to win the game. He didn't want any style points because there were times where Micah was close to getting a strip sack, fumble, and all that. So he kind of just went into conservative mode and made sure to win the game. And also, he saw what the Cowboys' offense was doing at that point, especially the way Dak was playing, and he knew he didn't have to do much. So this is going to be a very interesting game. Um, Honestly, this is going to be the game. This is going to be the game of the entire weekend because there's Hall of Famers and all pros running everywhere in this game. So
On
this is
every
going to be
level. This might be
Yeah.
the game. This is really the game of the year, man. And
Yeah.
like I know we was talking about on the phone. I'm like, man, my Kyle's nature and just calling the game sometimes. Like, I don't believe the Niners want this to be tight, bro. I'm gonna keep it one. I feel like it's tight late. I don't think the Niners want that, man, just because of Kyle. If you're looking at Kyle's history, it's not good when it gets tight, especially in the big moments. He even showed it last week, like being so conservative the end of half last week. Like, you can't, this the playoffs, man. You can't do that. You gotta everything, you gotta push all the chips to the center of the table. And that's what I kind of really like about Sirianni, man. I know we're not gonna get that coaching edge at all, especially from the national media and the regular fan. And I get it, and I understand because I'm a big Kyle fan, but Sirianni really does remind me of like that. That I'm not gonna say Andy Reid, but he kind of, even though Dougie P is off the Andy Reid tree, he kind of gives me like that Dougie P feel where like he's all chips in, man. We're gonna dial the shit up. If we gotta go for it on fourth, we're gonna go for it on fourth. Like I don't know, man. I got a good feeling about this team. And I like our matchup, man. I really do. I like our matchup versus their defense. I really do. I'm not gonna lie, brother. I like our with the threat of Jalen's legs. I think that's like the third component that they got to keep in the back of their mind, especially those linebackers that's continuing to fly downhill. So I'm interested to see the RPO and the play action game that we dial up for this game, because I think I will assume we'll have to go heavy on that, right? Just to keep those linebackers on their heels, because they're the best in the business, especially as a trio. And then Fred just singly they're the best in the business, man. I can't front. Those guys are violent. They're gonna hit your ass, and they're coming downhill fast.
Well, to piggyback off that, is there anybody in Fred Warner's class right now? Like, honestly,
Nah,
I'm thinking about it.
I was a fan since he came out of college. I love Roquan, but he doesn't move like Fred. He doesn't move
Nah,
like Fred. He's a tackling machine, but he doesn't move like Fred. No.
yeah. So, but anyways, I don't.
And
This
brother,
is a
this the other part I really feel like the Niner fans ain't seeing, because I feel like it's a wash and move statement with both teams when they say, "Oh, y'all ain't played nobody." You know, my Eagles really didn't have crazy competition for the season. I feel like the Niners haven't really played much crazy talent during this winning streak. Purdy hasn't. I feel like the Dallas Cowboys is a one-trick pony on defense with just Micah. I feel like we got a few multiple different kind of Micahs, man. We got 4 cats with 10 NFL record with 10 plus sacks. Purdy's going to be on his ass is going to be on the ground this game. He ain't been hit like this until he faces us in this game, and I really want to see how he reacts. I don't know, man. I love my team's chances. We're going to have our picks on Friday.
Well, before we do part 2 of this pod, I'll say this. I do agree from that standpoint, but the player for the 49ers is not going to be C-Mac. It's going to be Deebo Samuel.
And that's what I think we're going to let's do part 2. Let's do part 2. I'll send you the link. So as we was talking about, brother, we was talking about the conference championship matchup with my Eagles versus the Niners, and you were speaking on the matchup between Deebo and my Eagles defense.
He's the key. I mean, look, but we all know that McCaffrey's great, and he's added a lot to this team. He's made them more versatile. Kiddo's awesome. We all know that he's one of the 2 best tight ends in all of football, and they have a lot of other ones too. But the guy for this game, for them to win it, Deebo's going to have his opportunities to impact this game. He's the one, like he's the true game breaker on this team. I don't know how Kyle's going to use him but I'll say this: if he does not have 10 touches, and it should be really 15, because he needs a couple carries as well as he needs to be the featured receiver. He needs 15 touches for them at least. If they do those things, this game gets even dicier, because he's the one dude for the 49ers. I mean, they have speed, but he's the one dude where when he has it, I don't care who you are, like you are worried. He's the guy.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, the fact that you brought him up, brother, That's who I've been focusing on. Like, that's who I think we're going to try to eliminate. Like, we got to take somebody away. I think that's the guy to take away. And it's funny that you brought him up. And, like, that's one of the matchups I am really excited to watch is Kyle's play calling versus – I'm not a fan of him, you know it. My DC, Jonathan Gannon, and it's funny we may lose him because he's interviewing for the Texans job and a few other jobs. Supposedly we're in talks with Vic Fangio, and he's been working with us already as an analyst or something like that this season. I would love Vic. Oh my God, with this talent, oh my God, that's next year's talk. Sorry about that, but I am interested to see because Gannon, one of the main reasons why I always been on him, brother. My biggest knock on my DC is he doesn't always put his best players in position to succeed. And he's definitely a step or two late with his in-game adjustments. Both those things, Kyle is a fucking master at. So I'm really scared at that part. And from a betting perspective, I don't want none of these fucking guys to do anything. But I actually see C-Mac scoring. Won't say will have a big game because we definitely been doing a lot better versus the run. But I think C-Mac and Kittle are like the two guys that may have a big game here, brother. Especially Kittle. Our linebacker play isn't superb. White has been a great addition. We got him from the Chargers last year, but none of those guys are coming flying downhill consistently enough for me, and none of those guys are great sideline to sideline. At least from our stack backers. Hassan Reddick is an all-pro guy, but he's more of an edge rusher, pass rusher. He can drop a little bit. He's a linebacker, edge linebacker, but he's more of a pass rusher. So I'm definitely interested to see C-Mac in the slot position a little bit and where you can get him the football in space versus our linebackers. And I'm excited to see Kittle. And hopefully we put CGJ on him. He's too small to guard him. He's definitely too small to guard him, but he's probably the feistiest and only best option we got, to be honest, at safety. And we may have to bracket him with underneath linebacker play and CGJ on top. That's what I'm seeing right now.
Well, it's just going to be interesting because with all that being said, I mean, Slay will probably travel with Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
Because Debo's going to be moved everywhere.
And that's what I said, and I think we're going to roll coverage with Bradbury and everybody to Debo.
Yeah, but if Debo's at running back,
that's where it gets interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm just gonna say this: if you can't stop him, you guys are not winning this game.
Yeah,
because if he has the big day, you guys are not winning this game.
And so so I'll say this: I don't see him eating too much, even if he does get a few carries on the ground. I think it will have to be on the perimeter, on the bubbles or quick out slants, whatever he gets. The key thing for us is tackling, open field tackling this game. And it was key for the Cowboys last week as well. And the Seahawks when they played them. It's open field tackling. We struggled with that early on in the season. I got to go back and look to see how we finished, but I think we cleaned up and did a lot better towards the end of the season. But I know that was a big thing that my team was a hiccup of ours to start the season, was the open field tackling, and that was an issue last year with Gannon's defense. So I'm definitely interested to see that. I will say on the back end, we're better this year than we was last year as far as CGJ, solid guy, solid tackler, love the player. That's my boy right there. And then Marcus Epps, excuse me, my free safety. He will come down and hit. So I like our chances on the back end, but I'm interested to see our open field tackling specifically.
It's just simple. If you can't get that man on the ground, it's gonna be a tough day. And that's basically it.
Yeah, man. And then last matchup, I'm definitely interested to see. Hopefully, we get it lined up on that side a few times. Bosa versus Lane Johnson, man. That's another one.
Lane Johnson is one of the two best right tackles in all of football, and he's probably the best one. Tristan Wirfs, he might have something to say, but he's definitely one of the two best ones. Nick Bosa at this moment is probably the best edge rusher. I can't wait for that.
Yeah,
that's just gonna be grown men versus grown men, and that's gonna be amazing to watch. Honestly,
yeah, that's gonna be good. Let's finish off, man, with Andy and Pat going against Joe Burrow, man, in the AFC. Burrow is 3-0 in his career versus Pat and the Chiefs, and I believe he's 2-0 in Arrowhead. So
He's 1-0 in Arrowhead.
Got you. Excuse me. Yep. So, brother, last AFC Championship, they went into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. What do you got here this year?
Honestly, Patrick's injury, it plays a factor, but I don't think it's as huge of a factor as what people say, unless he's like 60%. If he's like 85 and he can still like, as long as he can throw, I'm not overly worried because they're still going to put up some points. Every game when I've watched them play, at no point in time do I think the Bengals have outplayed them. Every game is the Chiefs doing something dumb, basically, and the Bengals just taking advantage of it, i.e., basically just Joe doing it. At no point when I watch those games, when I do and I've rewatched some of them, and I know what the outcome is, but when I watch the games, I'm like, okay, like the Chiefs are gonna win, and then like you see the final score, and I'm like, I don't know how that happened. Every game. So I do think, from what I saw, with him being a little bit wounded, they're going to be on higher alert that they all need to step up. And I do think that Andy is going to stress that to them. And like I said, Patrick Mahomes this year has been amazing from the pocket. He's been patient. He's able to get to 1, to 2, to 3, and even his fourth read. He's been outstanding in that. And the Chiefs offensive line, and where the Bengals are great, is in the middle of that defense with their defensive line. The Chiefs in the interior of that line are outstanding. So that's going to be an interesting match, and they can run it too this year. Like that's the other thing. Like they need to run it more actually at times, because they can actually line up and run it this year. It's not just when teams are playing these coverages and they're daring them to run. Like they can actually line up and just run it down your throat now. So these are two very evenly matched teams, even though I do think the Bengals are more complete. And from a roster standpoint, I do think they might have a slight edge. But 15 is a different animal. So I'll need to continue to really think. But in each game, again, I'm going to keep saying it. Like the Chiefs are in control like every game, and then they just do something that the Bengals are able to just take advantage of. Like this last one, they're driving down in the fourth quarter to go up by 10 points. Your second best player, arguably on the team, depending on he or Chris Jones, but your second best player, arguably, in Kelsey, he fumbles. Last year in the AFC Championship game, Mahomes gets a little bit unlucky with a tipped interception, and then they stop running some of those coverages to Chase, and he gets one-on-one. Same thing in that first game. They kept putting Ward and other guys on an island with who I have is the best receiver in football. I mean, no matter what you think about him, he's one of the best 5. And you can't do that with these guys. I don't care who your corner is, especially when you don't have somebody that's like Jair Alexander or someone like that. So it's going to be interesting to see.
No disagreements here, man. My biggest thing here, like we said, we're giving our picks Friday. My biggest thing here, my biggest matchup, and I just can't wait to see it, especially if we're all assuming Pat's foot is not 100, it won't be 100. I want to see Andy's matchup, man. Andy versus Coach Lou, the defensive coordinator for the Bengals. I want to see that matchup, man. I want to see how Andy calls the game, because you have to imagine it'd be different. It looked different when Pat came back in, and it looked different when Henny came in the second half with Pat and Henny last week. So, and like you said, they do have that ability to run the ball now as a real threat. And I just want to see Pat be able to operate from the pocket. Like we said, we've seen Burrow the last 2 postseasons, and especially last week, do a master class at just quick game, getting the ball out, precision pocket QB play, because he's been down a few offensive linemen. I wanted Pat's hobble now. what's the adjustment, Pat? That's also what makes you great. You've done it before. I want to see you do it again, big guy. And like you said, for the most part, yeah, the Chiefs been in control of every game they played with the Bengals. The Bengals have really had a lot of luck. We talked about that before on both their runs last year and this year. I say the runs out, but I'll make my official pick Friday. I'm still sleeping on
Yeah.
it.
And the one other aspect of this game, as much as Patrick Mahomes wants this game, and some of the other guys do, the big guy that's on defense, who is now, in my opinion, the best defensive tackle in all of football, I know he wants this game. Because he's on record saying many times, Chris Jones is on record saying, he feels a lot of responsibility for last year's loss in the AFC Championship game because he didn't finish plays. He had Joe Burrow sacked a couple times in that game that would have just sealed it for them. But Joe got out of it. And for a lot of this season, Chris Jones looked like he was on a mission. And I think this game, in this moment, I think Chris Jones, I know what the Bengals offensive line did against the Bills, but again, the Bills today have good players up front. They don't have anything like this guy. This guy's different. So some of those backup offensive linemen, they might be in for a long day.
Yeah. I think that's everything. That's everything, brother.
Yeah. These might be the best championship games that we've had, honestly, in the last
Wow.
at least few years. I won't go like 20, but at least as long as I can remember, for the last at least couple of years, this is like the best weekend.
We had a good one. I don't know what I'm not sure what the NFC matchup was. I believe the Rams was in it, but that year we had Pat and Tom the first, because that was their first matchup, right? Or was
Yeah,
that their second in the AFC Championship?
yeah, that was their second matchup that year in
That
past
was a
years.
good one. I think the Rams versus somebody was on the other side, right?
Yeah, they played the Saints that year.
That was a pretty
But
good
in
one.
terms of just like these two quarterbacks for what they are, and then the rosters of the 49ers and the Eagles, I think these two, like these teams are way better than those
I
teams.
know,
Like
I
this,
know, I know. The '90s was really more Cowboys and Niners. You know, star-studded talent loaded in those games. I've went back and watched those 94 and 95 conference championship games. It got that feeling, even though we ain't the Cowboys. Fuck the Cowboys. It got that feeling as far as just talent. Eagles, Niners this weekend. Like, man,
yes.
I can't wait for that game.
Oh, but there is one more thing though. I will add this. The Bengals better win because in a year, and I heard this earlier, and I got to give Nick right credit, and he's right. When the AFC they pushed their chips to the middle of the table, except for the Chiefs, who traded away arguably their second best player.
You're going in and out a little bit, brother. You're going in and out a little bit.
If we're going to outside of the quarterback, the Chiefs and the Bengals are now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go now. Yeah, you got probably want to repeat the Joe Burrow statement. You was breaking up.
Okay. But in a year where all the top AFC teams they push their chips to the middle of the table, the Broncos they made that huge trade for Russ. The Chargers they spent all of this money. The Bengals they aren't paying anyone yet, and they made a lot of great free agent signings. The Bills with what they did with going out and getting Von Miller and some of their other free agent acquisitions. In a year where the Chiefs traded away outside of Patrick Mahomes, obviously their best player, and are starting 7 rookies. If the Chiefs win this game and he's hobbled with all of that and they win the Super Bowl, the AFC is in trouble. I don't care how great Joe Burrow is, because at some point you're gonna have to not only pay him, but you're gonna have to pay Chase, and you might have to make some really tough decisions with T. Higgins because his number might be really, really high, which means Tyler Boyd might be your two. I mean, the Bengals have done a great job drafting, but hey. And again, the Chargers with what they did, you went and signed J.C. Jackson. That was a bust for this year because A, he wasn't playing well when he was healthy, and then B, he got hurt. Khalil Mack was good, but wasn't life changing. Bosa can't stay healthy for the Chargers. The Broncos, they have no draft capital and they have a quarterback that's looking washed with what they did. And the Bills, they just face planted. The AFC might be in trouble. So the Bengals, if there is a time to get them again, it is right now. So that's going to be an interesting part two.
All right, man. That's everything. Did you touch on that didn't they say Coach Lou for the Bengals, their DC is interviewing? I think they said he was interviewing for some head job.
Yeah, but like I said preseason, McDermott, not this year, but next year because of what they just did. Because I said this preseason, like if they don't do it, he's like the hot like his seat is gonna get warmer and warmer. So, and I think it's warm.
Got you. All right, man. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be IG live on Friday. Again, like I said, at Coach D Lane. And at the 510 Huddle. We'll be live Friday afternoon with our picks. All right. Thank you for listening.
All right, great. Thanks, guys.
We play for keeps, Cuddy. You ain't heard about the Huddle fire with no with D-Lane. We tryna get it off the muscle. Walters caught the pick and ran it back without a tussle. Blow the whistle, coach is trying to get back to the huddle.
Welcome to the